Welcome back to Mastering Menopause. We are heading into summer, guys. Memorial Day is this weekend, so I hope you guys have something fun planned. I know that I do. I am going to do some hiking. I just found out that there's actually a vortex in St. George, so I'm hoping to do that. That being said, it is 97 degrees here right now. So we will see. Probably will either be like a later evening hike or something early in the morning. But I just did a masterclass on Monday called Bloated AF, and I just wanted to share some of the highlights from that. I'm not going to share the actual masterclass, but I do want to go over some of the points that were super, I should say, actionable of things that you can do. So I think we all know we could just eat less crap, right? I could have just said, hey, just eat less crap and we'll call it a day. But there are definitely some things that you should be doing that you're probably not doing, especially when you are in menopause. What happens is we just start to see things, our digestion just changes. So I'm not going to go into the whole thing. What I am going to do is tell you the 3 tips that I have gotten feedback on that people have implemented since Monday night, so over the past couple of days, and they said, wow, like this is definitely making a difference. I got a message from somebody and she said that she is now chewing her food and it is making a big difference. Now, let me preface that. Chewing your food. Of course, we need to chew our food. But on that call, I said, you need to slow down and we need to chew our food to the consistency of applesauce. And so there's 2 things there to unpack. The first thing is just slowing down when you are eating your meals, not eating on the go, not eating standing up, sitting down and enjoying your meals. And this was something we talked about in detail on that masterclass. But the reason why is just to give your body, to just get it into that relaxed state for digestion. Because when we're just always running around, we're in that fight or flight, it just tenses everything up and it makes digestion harder. And this is why we're getting that bloated distension feeling every time that we eat. And then the second thing would be we're just shoving it down and then not chewing it. And so your body really has a tough time. So let me back up. So when you look at the food, when you smell the food, when you sit there and you anticipate it, you increase your bile. That is going to help you digest that food. And a lot of times we just get the food and throw it in. So we miss that whole process of getting the stomach ready for this food so that we can begin the digestion process. Your digestion begins as soon as you start to smell the food, believe it or not. And then some processes go into play. So, when something is like mouth watering, that is why. So that's the first thing. And then having these larger pieces of food, it is just really hard for your body to break that down. And this is what's causing that excess gas and discomfort and possible cramping when you are trying to digest these larger pieces of food. So that was one thing. And one of my ladies, she just messaged me and she said, yeah, I'm chewing my food to the consistency of applesauce and that is helping. Now, she is also a fellow restaurant worker. So I shared on the call my experience working as a bartender. As a bartender, you are eating standing up and you are eating as fast as you can because you do not get a break in bartending. There's always somebody sitting at your bar, somebody needs something. Literally, as soon as the bar clears out, you have to do all the cleanup and everything like that. So you just don't get a break when you're working in the restaurant industry. And so for years, I was literally eating as fast as I could standing up. That was a habit that I had to break. Slowing down and chewing my food has made a huge difference with digestion. Moving on, the second thing that we talked about that somebody sent me a message. We talked about chewing gum, and this one is twofold because we were talking about, so this one is twofold. She said, I have stopped chewing gum and I have stopped eating the high fiber tortilla wraps. The gum, a lot of that has to do with the artificial sweeteners in there, but also the fact that you're consuming some air, so that's leading to some bloating. But the main point was these high fiber wraps. Anything that's like keto, anything that's low carb or high fiber, something that's being promoted as such, anything that says like net carbs, what they do, I think I said this on the call, they artificially inseminate it. I don't think that's the actual process, but they're adding fiber to it. But this isn't a naturally occurring fiber. This isn't something that you would naturally find in like beans or lentils or something like that. You have to be careful with when you're adding these high fiber foods to your diet. That is going to have an impact on your digestion. I'm particularly talking about those products that are labeled net carb or high fiber, because those are artificially amped up with a fiber that we just can't digest. Now, that's the point, right? If you can't digest it, then it just passes through the body. Your body just has a really hard time breaking down these artificial fibers. They're artificially pumping up the fiber content. They can make a claim that these have less calories, that your body doesn't break down that fiber. And true, but it also causes digestive distress. So let's take a look at like what is it called? Carb balance. I think that's what it's called, those tortillas. It says 70 calories on that wrap. They are actually 120 calories. When you do the macros, then it comes out at 120 calories, just like a regular tortilla would. But what's happening is they're adding this fiber to those products, and then they can make the claim that, hey, but we're going to deduct the fiber, and therefore we're going to be deducting the calories. It doesn't compute like macros wise. We're not really sure how many of those calories are you getting from the fiber, because it could be anywhere from that 1 to the 4 grams. It really depends on how your body breaks that down. But that's the thing, it doesn't break it down. I don't do the low carb things. Anything that says like net carbs, you will see things like inulin and chicory root. Those are things that cause us digestive distress. And so these are things that if you are having issues with bloating, then I would avoid these things. So just take a look at the labels and see what's in there. I'm not saying not to have the high fiber wraps. I used to have those. They're delicious. But I had 2 people on that call that were like, oh my God, I'm having 2 of those a day. And it's like, why? Because they're trying to hit their fiber goals. So now we have this artificial fiber. Let's just have fiber. Let's have raspberries. Let's have kiwi with the skin on. Let's have pears, things like that, things that actually have naturally occurring fiber rather than artificially introducing fiber that your body just doesn't know what to do with. Everything has like a cause and effect. We think we're doing something good. And I know there's probably some people on here that are like, fuck, I love those wraps. I used to love them too. And then I was having those almost every single day. And then I was starting to see, man, my gut doesn't do well with these. And I wasn't sure exactly what it was. And then I like pinpointed it. I'm like, what is new in my diet? But it had been like a couple months that I've been having those literally every day because they are delicious. They are super soft. They are really pliable. And I'm like, and I'm getting my protein and my fiber in. So it was like a win-win, but I didn't realize like what was actually happening with my body when I had those. And then I took a deep dive into it. I actually did a video on it on TikTok that went viral, and this guy ripped me apart. I count macros. And so when you're doing the macros on those, it just doesn't add up. And then he was like, your body doesn't break down the fiber, and therefore, and it was just such bullshit. And he was like such a bro. I had to like take down that video. My point still stood. And there were plenty of people that were saying, like, we count macros. We don't have those. If you're a diabetic, you have to watch your carbs. You're not having these products. They will create a spike in your insulin. There's definitely 2 sides of it. But if you're having these wraps and you're getting bloated, then take a look at that. If you're having these wraps and you're absolutely fine, then keep doing what you're doing. But the whole point of this masterclass was to point out some of these things. We do these healthy things to improve our digestion, to increase our fiber. Another one of those things that we do is flax seeds. Your body cannot break down flax seeds. It's like corn. Like you'll see corn the next day. If you looked hard enough, you would see whole flax seeds as well. And so your body just can't break down that shell. So a lot of times we do things that we think are healthy, but we don't take into consideration what's actually happening with the body. So yes, I know it's convenient. These high fiber, high protein wraps, but they did not sit well in my stomach. And it's just funny because they don't deduct fiber on foods across the board. If you look at a can of beans, they're not deducting the fiber. They don't do that on lentils or fruits that have fiber. It's just with these products that are specifically marketed low carb, keto, any of those. Take a look at your keto bread. Here's one thing that you can do. If you take the total, and I'm going to say the easiest way for this, but I want to explain why. The easiest way to see how many calories that they're deducting is you take the fiber grams and you times that by 4, and that's how many more calories are on that label than what they are putting there. When you're doing this, if you look at total carbohydrates, and then total protein, what you can do is you add those two up. And let's just say 10 across the board, okay? So say it has 10 grams of carbs, and then it has 10 grams of protein. So you would take those two, add that up, that's 80 calories. And then say there's a gram of fat, that's 9 calories, because there's 9 calories per gram. So now we're looking at what, 89? But if they're taking away the fiber, say they had 5 grams of fiber, and they're deducting that, so it would be net. So now they're taking off 20 calories, okay? So this has 69, they're saying it has 69 calories instead of the 89 calories. Now, at the end of the day, that is not a huge difference. Here's the thing, those wraps have 15 grams of fiber in there. That's a 60 calorie difference. And so you can't tell me that those don't count, because I've had clients where they're like, I am having 2 of these a day. Again, the whole thing, these are good for me. These are low carb. Like I should be having these. My coach says I should be having more protein. I should be having more fiber. So it checks the box right there. But in reality, what's happening is they were having at 2 a day about 120 calories more than they thought that they were. And so now, guess what? We are no longer in that deficit. If we're at a 500 calorie deficit and you're eating 120 calories more a day, we're not in that deficit. Never mind the other things that go with tracking. So anyways, now we're getting off topic, but I just wanted to share that with you, some little tidbits from that masterclass. There was definitely some more stuff that we talked about on there, but those were, please share it with them. I would appreciate that, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.